If you remember, during the cardboard build, we had those beautiful cardboard boxes on either side as a test. Well, that concept works quite well, and that's what we have here. Half-inch pre-finished maple plywood. We made our storage boxes, one on each side. Mattress flushes right up to it, and then we'll have our lids. The lids will be laminated, and we may put a nice cherry trim around each of those lids. The up front two are shallower than the back. Those are going to be lock boxes. Back here on either side, we're going to have a nice little, I don't know what you would call this. I feel like I'm in a hotel now. We're going to have a spot where you just lay your iPhone to charge and your Apple Watch and your pods, right? And then we'll have a little cup holder for your water. Some of you may need a glass of water for your teeth, but that's going to be here on either side. We'll have that whole little nightstand area. Easy peasy. One thing we thought of is if we did put the iPhone and the Apple Watch here in the middle of the night, if you're thrashing about, dreaming about Humble Road vans, you might knock it off of the charger. So the other thought we had is maybe we would recess that whole charging area there, drop it all down, and so that water bottle will just be poking up above the surface. Of course, we're not going to have a lid here. This rear square area, maybe 10 inches or so, will be open for you to put all that stuff in there. Give me your ideas. You tell me what suggestion you have. We don't want to knock that iPhone. We don't want to knock that Apple Watch. And we want to have our cup holder right here. You tell me. Now I'm in front of this whole bed garage module. And as you can see, we're going to be placing our battery and our 30-gallon water tank directly over the axle. This can be upwards of 250 to 300 pounds when it's full. This is 165 pounds all day long. And then over here, this area is going to be for the bicycles, electric bicycles on a slide. I'll show you that in the back. So there's going to be a nice bulkhead right here, and you won't see any of this, obviously. And then we're going to make use of these spaces. Right here, for instance, we will be putting a nice drawer, a short box drawer right here. And then there's going to be a tray with a secondary shelf going out the back. I'll show you that later. Our galley comes out to here. You know, it's an 18, 19 gross galley once we get done with it. And we have our radiant heat under the floor. If you notice, I don't know if you can see it, this center panel, let me show you real quick. I got to move the camera. Hold on. I hate to do that. This is, we spent a lot of time sorry about that. Okay, hang on. We've got everything biscuited together, so you can't just lift up one panel. But you've already known about this. This is where we're going to put our radiant heat in the floor. Center aisle, all the way down. And you can see that we've designed this system in such a way that unscrewing a few screws, we can take this panel up and get at that tubing if we ever have to. Now, when I run this radiant tubing, there will be no unions under the floor. Once we come in, we're going to make this whole run and come out without cutting that tube. So chances are we're never going to have to go in here. But if we do, we can. One thing I'm really excited about is a design feature we came up with for this van. Like I said, it's falling into place. It's going to end up being a really nice van. In the past, I've done all of my breakers and bus bars access through the garage for the most part. We don't have that kind of room back there anymore because we're going with a very different heating system. We're going to use the AquaHot. AquaHot just came out with a version of their furnace system for vans. So that will be our radiant heat in the floor. That will be our zoned air cabin heat. In one van, we're doing passive radiant heat, and it makes your hot water as well, diesel or gas fired. So there's not a lot of room back there for our bus bars and our breakers and our fuses coming from the battery, the inverter, all of that area. You've seen me do all that in the past. So here we came out with a beautiful idea. This portion of the bed is going to be on gas struts. So it lifts up. And right here, it will be a 6-inch deep tray. Now remember, the bulkhead is here, the galley's here, but it's going to be a wide open 6-inch deep tray with all my breakers. I'll probably use the Victron Lynx distributors this time around for the cleanliness of design. So I don't want these bus bars to be too close to people's hands that they're touching. The Lynx distributor does a better job of covering up the exposed lugs. I cannot wait. All my breakers and fuses will be laying on their back in this tray, looking up at you, all labeled. When you're done, gas struts, drop the bed right back down. This is the mattress that we're using in this van. I put it in today just for the video, and then I'm gonna put it back in its plastic bag and put it back in its hermetically sealed container. But this is very easy to lift and work with. And when Debbie and John were here, they were quite pleased with how comfortable it was. It's a 6-inch memory foam mattress. I can't wait. I can't wait. We're going to have a long 6-foot tray. This bed is 6 foot deep, 72 inches. So we're going to have a 72-inch shelf on shelf glides right here. So you get a lot of storage, and this shelf will pull all the way out so you can access the stuff in the back. Now, some of you are looking at this and saying, George, that's a stupid idea because you took away all their vertical storage. What if they want to store taller things that need more room than your little shelf? Well, what we're going to do is put a hinge in the floor of that shelf. So now they have the option of using it full length, top and bottom, or just in the back, and they've got all this space for their taller things, vertical storage. We've got our battery and our water tank. Look at the space there. We literally have 3/8 of an inch on either side of those components for heavy mass vinyl so that they have some kind of cushioning against themselves. Then over here is where we have our bicycles. John and Debbie have these really nice electric bikes. I think they're Specialized. I could be wrong. They're really nice electric bikes, and it's very important for them that those bikes are stored inside the van and no longer on their swing-away hitch mount. So we work long and hard. Those bikes have a very specific and finite height when they sit on a bike tray. This is where our bike tray is going to be, right here. And as you can see, in order to make the height of the bikes work in conjunction with, in harmony with John being able to sit up in bed and not hitting his head on the ceiling, we literally cut away the floor. We took ourselves back down the 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inches, because I've got 1 inch joists, 1 inch foam, and then 3/4 plywood on top of that. So we got 1 3/4 inches back down, and our floor, our sled base or floor, is going to just skim past this. Probably 1/4 inch of space just to allow for any kind of a weight sag that the bikes would create on our sled floor. But I don't anticipate that. We're going to go with 3/4 ply on angle. This is a stand-in to show you what we're doing. We're going to get a little bit lighter weight angle, aluminum angle. This is 1/4 inch. We don't need 1/4. We're going to probably go with 3/16. But we're going to be able to mount the angle just high enough that it skims past the high points in the van. And then our bike tray will lay in there. It'll be cradled on either side by that angle. So these are really heavy duty slides. They go all the way back, okay? And what room is left in the back behind the bicycles, I'm going to store stuff. And on the back wall back there is where we're going to hang the inverter. Capsule, flare space. Capsule, flare space. I got to give you an update on what went on with these windows. If you remember, a few months back, I went through a rant because these C.R. Lawrence windows did not work. They didn't fit themselves. Never mind fitting them into the capsule. The inner mounting ring did not fit or was not compatible with the outer window. Turns out I was wrong. They were not C.R. Lawrence, purchased from Flarespace. They are Flarespace windows. Flarespace manufactures these windows, 1033s. Capsule manufactures this bump out. Can't call this a flare. It's a bump out by Capsule. So I call Flarespace and I explain the situation with their windows. This is where I learned it's not a C.R. Lawrence window. It's a Flarespace product. They manufacture them. I explained how that inner mounting flange did not mount correctly with the window. It was way off. Then the product sat here. We were on to other things. Now it was time to get these windows resolved. So I call Flarespace back. Now we're months beyond the problem we had with these windows when they came in. Flarespace immediately sent me a brand new set of windows, and they sent me 2 return labels to send those bad windows back. I said, we'll try. They kind of said these are mass produced, they're manufactured, they're probably all going to be the same, but let's try. Maybe you got a dud. Maybe you got 2 duds because neither side fit properly. Well, these new ones came in post haste right after my phone call. They were here 3 days later. This is big, big props to Flarespace. Customer service. Unbelievable. Months after the purchase, didn't ask a question. They did know it was Humble Road, so that might have had something to do with it. I don't know. These required a little bit of tweaking out on the bench, but then when we put them in and set them in place, they just sucked right in beautifully. So we're done with this problem. Let's move on to the next. Dr. Steven brought his 4x4 Sprinter back in for a few modifications. While we couldn't get to all of his requests this visit, we did make him a custom wind deflector. Since he already had his 80/20 roof rack in place, we simply added 15 series extensions onto the front crossbar and another crossbar in 10 series to hold the wind deflector. You'll notice that those 15 series extensions are also mounted under the aluminum angle that's holding the solar panels. This method tied everything together in a nice solid form. We also fabricated an aluminum cover sleeve along the sides for a more finished look. In the rear, new 10 series 80/20 rails replaced the outdated rack that came with the van in the beginning. Now let's go inside and I'll show you what we did in there. One of the projects Dr. Steven asked us to perform was to take the little skinny closet that used to be here. This was put in place in case they wanted to put a dinner jacket, a blazer, a couple of windbreakers in here on a hanging rod. It was a little skinny closet. They didn't use it. They've been traveling long enough in this van, they know they didn't need that. So we turned it into a little shelving unit. As you can see here, it's a pre-finished maple shelves, and then we just faced it with a little cherry, solid cherry that we had. So that project is finished. Now I will take you up front and show you what we did with that ladder. I had forgotten that we made this nice little cup tray for the Sprinter. This was, we made this in the shop and we did this by hand. This was before the CNC machine was in operation. You know, you can buy these kinds of cup holders for Sprinters, but what they do is they mount them in this little change cubby with a little block on it. It's very rickety, no good. So we took the ashtray out and we took the guts of the ashtray and mounted them on the underside of this. This is permanent. This is rock solid. This is pretty nice. I forgot we did this. Anyway, let's get over to this ladder. So when it came time to find a way to store this bedroom ladder step stool thing, this was the only place, the only logical place we could store it. So what I did is I took a long, hard look at the construction of our plumbing bump out box. This whole panel going all the way down the front. Let me show you that whole panel. See that whole panel? That's actually 3 separate pieces of 1/4 inch that lift out. So what I did is I put a big thick rubber padding on the top panel, and my 80/20 components with my plumbing fixtures are right behind there. So it acts as a good stabilizer for any forces that might be applied here. But again, I took a long, hard look at what we had to work with. You've got to let that van speak to you. And if you remember, this ladder, let me pull it out of here. The ladder's got these rubber treads at the leading edge of every step, custom steps. Leading edge, right? Treads. It so happens that the bottom tread lines up with the bottom frame member of the cabinet, of the plumbing box. And the rest of them, as long as you keep them in contact with this outer frame piece, there is support and there's no rattling. So when you're ready to go to bed, you've pulled out the bed, you've deployed it to the angle you like, that's when you come over and open up your ladder, your steps, your folding steps, and you put those in place. They are rock solid. They're very safe because we made them deeper. These are nice deep steps going up. Custom cherry treads. We've got the non-skid rubber along the leading edge. And this ladder, as it was purchased, had very high sides and it had a cross piece. We cut that off. That would have gotten in the way of them getting in and out of the bed. We cut these down to a point where they can easily use that as a support, getting in or out of the bed on either side. Coming out of the bed, it's very easy to just put a hand on each one of these and walk down the stairs front ways, or you can turn around and do it backwards. Depends on how you like to get in and out of a companionway staircase. But these are ideal. They were made for this van and they look it. It's a total match, a perfect match, and they're very special. You know, we really put a lot of time and thought into these steps, and to be honest with you, I think they're beautiful. The galleys are out on the tables. 1, 2, 3. This is where we set them up, we put them together, we tighten them down, we fit the sinks, we build the drawer boxes and put the glides in place. We use Blum glides. They're highly adjustable in every which way. This is the galley for she to me. Look at these drawers. Look at the size, the depth of these drawers. You got a nice big macaroni pot? That's where you could put it. This galley is going in Roxy the Sprinter, the 4x4. This big space here with a drawer over it, this is the water tank. If you remember, we have a 50-gallon water tank on a big bridge over the wheel well. Well, that tank comes right into this galley area, right here. So we had just enough room for a drawer above it. Right here, under this 10-inch deep sink, you know how I feel about sinks in a van. This is the big sink I put in every van. It's as big as you can go in the galleys that we produce. Anyway, down here, we're gonna have a pull-out garbage and recycling bins on glides, right back in. Bank of drawers. Again, we try to give you a good variation of shallow to deep, right? Another drawer here, and then this will be a cupboard. So this will be a door, and we'll probably put a shelf in here.